SEI, ISFP, SE. Sensing ethical intro Tim. Mediator, peacemaker, or the archetype Alexander Dumas. Jung. Introverted, sensing, ethical, irrational. Velenko. Communication style, sincere, romantic style, caring, forms of thinking, dialectical algorithmic cognition. Reinen. Dynamic, yielding, democratic, strategic, emotivist, carefree, merry, judicious, negativist, process, declaring. Groups. Alpha Quadra, SF Socials, IP Temperament. Introverted. He focuses on his reaction to the outside world. His perception of the world is a component of himself. He is interested in the interactions between the self and the outside world. Instead of manipulating real objects, uses imagination and reflection. Sensing. He is emphasizing concrete, tangible details that can be directly experienced, making him more realistic and down to earth. More aware of his surroundings and living in the present moment. Pay attention to details rather than the big picture. Ethical. He perceives feelings, emotions and concerns, and interpersonal relationships. More often make decisions based on their own feelings. Prefer ethical evaluations, good or bad. Prefer persuasion over argumentation. Irrational. He absorbs information without evaluating it or applying it to his or her own experience. Wait and see or make a rasher decision. Stress tolerance is high. Unpredictability and spontaneity. Merry. He is good at noticing emotional background, and perceive the emotional aspect separate from the activity. Judicious. Natural state is relaxation. Work best when they can relax beforehand, and are mobilized only for the duration necessary. Democratic. He perceives and refers to other people, and himself, primarily describing individual, personal qualities, frank, trustworthy, generous, unimaginative, light-hearted, good-looking, etc. Yielding. It's easy to change his mind. Resources are personal, but ideas are freely shared and manipulated. Carefree. They believes that one can't foresee everything. Process. He does things sequentially, from the beginning to the end. Immersed to a process and inclined to single tasking. Dynamic. He perceives events in a continuous sequence, continuous changes, rather than discrete states. Strategic. He focuses on goals, and manipulates them, with methods unsettled. Emotivist. He tends to concentrate foremost on the emotional background of interaction, with business a secondary concern. Negativist. He is inclined to detect and resolve problems within things, systems, or processes. Socially and intellectually more distrusting and disinterested at first. Declaring. He has tendency to monologue, listens attentively and silently to others' speeches, to return to a long speech. Communication style, sincere. This style is defined by a passive-aggressive search for feelings, and the use of indirect signals to express his openness to relational contact. Romantic style, caring. Attraction is sparked by aesthetic and mental attributes of the prospective partner, but cools if such attributes are accompanied by an overly aggressive behavior. Interest is kept up if their partner is welcoming of their care and attention, and even evokes it, and seeks them out. Forms of thinking, dialectical algorithmic cognition. They view of the universe as a unified struggle of opposites. It is synthetic, negative, and deductive. As dynamics, these types synthesize associational images. As evolutionary types, they increase deductive complexity of them. As negativists, They work well with contradictions and paradoxes. Alpha Quadra. Merry, judicious, democratic. Alpha types tend to discuss theoretical concepts as a source of intellectual stimulation, and enjoy participating in groups where there is a free exchange of positive emotional expression, in an atmosphere that satisfies the senses. SF socials. Their interactions are likely to be based on enjoying conversations about their families and personal relationships, artistic and sensory interests such as cooking, gossip, and group social activities such as parties, dancing, excursions, and sports activities. It is the stereotypical women's group, although these clubs, which are made up only of men, also exist, with common activities and interests. IP temperament. He perceives reality as a constant, gradual, and often imperceptible change. This results in a relaxed tendency to take things as they come and adapt to them. IPs, as introverts, are relaxed and somewhat passive when it comes to initiating relationships with others. SEI Model A. SI dominant. Ego mental valuable inert verbal acceptable strong 4D. FE creative. Ego mental valuable contact productive verbal strong 3D. NI role. Super ego mental non-valuable weak contact acceptable nonverbal 2D. TE vulnerable. Super ego mental non-valuable weak inert productive nonverbal 1D. NE suggestive. Super ID vital valuable weak contact acceptable verbal 1D. TI mobilizing. Super ID vital valuable weak inert productive verbal 2D. SE ignoring. ID vital non-valuable strong inert acceptable nonverbal 3D. FI demonstrative. ID vital non-valuable strong contact productive nonverbal 4D. SI dominant. He has a high ability to perceive internal physical states in oneself and others, comprehend how these states are achieved, and replicate and avoid these physical states. These people are quick to detect and express their discomfort, and they take creative ways to alleviate it or simply move away from whatever is hurting them. FE creative. He is sensitive to the emotional climate. A positive emotional environment is essential for his sense of well-being and inner peace, which is reflected in his attempts to be on good terms with those with whom he interacts or seeks distance or protection from. NI role. He can shift his focus to longer-term implications and personal imagination, but only for short periods of time. His natural choice is to focus on his immediate surroundings and sensations, or on the task at hand. If this function is underdeveloped, he may overplan his future while neglecting to examine the reasons for doing so. TE vulnerable. He is skeptical of basing your beliefs, arguments, and actions on external sources of information, and he dislikes dealing with issues involving efficiency, productivity, and the factual accuracy of statements are made based on input from other functions, rather than double checks against external facts. NE suggestive. He wishes for his uniqueness to be recognized, appreciated, and encouraged by a small group, but avoids promoting his originality and talents in new or big group situations. He has difficulty identifying his distinctive talents, which often leads to a tendency to postpone defining long-term work goals. TI mobilizing. He seeks clarity in his system of beliefs and understanding, and he enjoys entertaining new concepts and participating in philosophical discussions that introduce new concepts and systems of thought. He is unsure of the logic that underpins his actions. SE ignoring. He avoids confrontation and clashes, but if they are unavoidable, he becomes fierce and unyielding for small periods of time. Participation in violent physical activities in which such battles may occur, such as in some sports, is delights themselves, but by the exhilarating sensations generated by those activities. FI demonstrative. He understands personal connections between two people well, but he considers them less important than broader emotional interactions in the context of a larger group. Furthermore, those personal ties viewed as contingent, dynamic, and not static. SEI relationships. Identical. SEI. duality, ILE, activity, LII, mirror, ESE, business, IEI, mirage, SLE, beneficiary, LSI, supervisee, EIE, superego, ILI, extinguishment, SEE, quasi-identical, ESI, conflictor, LIE, kindred, SLI, semi-dual, IEE, benefactor, EII, supervisor, LSE.